Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by my wife Omi. We're going to go ahead and talk to you about Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2, titled The Passenger. In this episode, we see Mando riding with his speeder.
What I like about the opening shot, it shows right away these two are on a mission, which has been the whole premise of the Mandalorian.
They're trying to get somewhere.
Right, they're trying to get somewhere. And so they are going from Mos Pelgos back to Mos Eisley. They were actually ambushed. They were attacked. And what's interesting is that when we first saw one of the characters, I forget his name, I don't know, it was one of the characters, he's nailing down this big old nail. And I thought it was just, they were coming back into town. We're seeing workers doing their thing. Then you saw him just looking off into the distance, like really attentive. Little did we know there was an ambush, and then we saw the rope being tied through, and then they covered it with the sand to bury it.
Right, so it seemed like these were bounty hunters looking for Mando and the child.
Right, when Mando passed through where the rope was, he hit the rope and they went flying off. And the first thing you see is, everyone flying off like Mando, but then they show the shot of Baby Yoda rolling.
Just rolling.
Yeah, rolling. And I was just immediately, oh my God, the child, right? And so...
Save the child.
Then you see the wreckage.
Yeah, so what was really interesting too about that crash was that, when they get hit, when Mando runs into the rope, the speeder just falls apart, goes all over the place. Yeah. It almost hits him. It's like this really cool action sequence where he's almost dodging the speeder. He kind of stabilized himself with his jetpack.
I wonder how they knew he was going to be there, Mando. Like how
They knew exactly where he was going to pass by. They knew when he was going to pass by. Is there a traitor in the midst?
Right. Could it be
Cobb Vanth, maybe.
Or
Pelimoto.
They knew he was going to be there.
There's a bounty on his head. But this was just a little too precise.
Mando fighting off the bounty hunters.
Right.
And he's kicking butt.
The interesting thing is that they clearly say, get the child.
Right. So it was...
They were on a mission.
They were on a mission, right. The child was a target. And then there's a scene where one of the bounty hunters gets a hold of Baby Yoda.
So it was funny, right? Because he goes off into like this rifle case and he's pulling out this big old rifle. And I immediately thought, man, you better put that away. They're going to take that away from me. And, he pulled out the rifle. Mando is wrestling with two dudes and then he uses a zip line, pulls the rifle, ducks, cool. And takes out the two dudes. So not exactly how I thought he would use it, but he used it nonetheless. So the little alien goes and grabs Baby Yoda.
That's right, and puts a knife to his throat. And Mando immediately like, oh, don't hurt the child. And so that protectiveness over the child.
He was like, there's nowhere you can hide where I won't find you.
Right. And so he ends up telling him, oh, you can, trade me the child for something in the wreckage. There's a lot of valuables in the wreckage. Well, they show a shot of Boba Fett's armor, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the helmet is
right.
He looks at it.
But he ignores it and he goes for the jetpack. And so he takes off with the jetpack.
Yeah, he was so happy too. Like, this little guy was just running with the jetpack. He was like,
All of a sudden you see Mando and the jetpack goes up into the sky. That was really cool. Mando and Baby Yoda just walking through the desert with, whatever they can carry. So you see Boba Fett's armor. Baby Yoda's in a little sack in front of Mando looking like a kangaroo.
Yeah, he's just like hauling.
He's hauling stuff.
He got that big old piece of brontosaurus meat.
Mm-hmm. Right. Don't forget the steak.
Yeah.
So they arrive to Mos Eisley, to the cantina, and they encounter Amy Sedaris' character, Kalimoto. They see her at a table gambling or making bets with what seemed to be an ant.
Yeah, Dr. Mandible. That was his name.
Dr. Mandible.
When we see Pelimoto interacting with Dr. Mandible, it's this giant ant, and the director of this episode was Peyton Reed, which we know from the Ant-Man movies. I would like to think it was a nice little nod, which I'm pretty sure it was, right? Mm-hmm. It was like that scene in Ant-Man where you see the giant ant just playing the drums.
Yeah, totally.
So here you see a giant ant playing cards.
Right.
Pretty interesting.
She makes a bet and she gets Mando
to buy in.
Buy in, right.
So Mando bets in for him. But then what happens?
And she ends up winning.
Yeah. With what? With what hand?
Oh, what was the hand? Oh, there was a specific
Idiots Array!
Idiots Array, yes. No, that character is hilarious, Pelly, because she has the funniest lines, I feel. Yeah. And when she wins the bet, she goes, pay up, Thorax. I thought that was hilarious. I was just like, okay, she's funny. She has pretty interesting lines, again, with that quirky character.
At first, when I saw her in season 1, I was a little like, oh, she's a little over the top. But she kind of grows on you, her character and the purpose she serves. You know, she's not only Mando's mechanic, right? But she's also his informant. You know, he needs some info, she's gonna get it for him. And there's a trust between them, right? Like he's asked her multiple times, do you vouch for this person? And she's like, with my life, and he'll go with it.
And then we see them going outside.
Yeah, so they're going outside.
Yep.
Right, and I called it. They were roasting that brontosaurus meat. They were roasting it. It was like this little android. Engine. Yeah, with a pod racer engine.
Right.
It looked like they were cooking up el Nil,
lechon.
Yeah, it brought me back, man. I was like, I know how it feels. It's exciting when you're cooking a big old piece of meat.
And then they meet the frog lady.
So that's when Pelimoto tells Mando, we have our person. Mando asks, how much is it gonna cost me? And she's like, no, it's free. But this person needs, transport.
The frog lady is played by the same actress who actually did the performance for Quill. So the frog lady actually has her eggs, which she needs to get to her husband to get.
Right, she has this little tank on her back with these little eggs that she needs to get fertilized, because otherwise that would be the end of her line.
Right.
So this is like really important to her. They can't travel in light speed, so Mando's concerned because it's like, well, I'm being chased.
Right.
I have a target on my head. This isn't going to be a pleasant trip.
Right. There's this one scene when the eggs appear, right, where they show the eggs on the frog with the frog lady, and then they show Baby Yoda looking at the eggs intently, sort of like. And doesn't the music come on there?
Yeah, there's this like little gentle lullaby music.
Right, it's like very playful and curious, but also a little mischievous.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that, because it's like, oh yeah, it reminds us, oh, he's a child. And the way he looks at things, at the world, maybe it's playful, it's curious,
and innocent. I would like to assume he's innocent, even though he's 50 years old. But...
Right, and I thought that was pretty cool.
In the background, when you see the frog lady, or La Coquille, as I like to call her, she's going up the ramp to the Razor Crest, and you see little Baby Yoda just like chasing after her.
Yes, you do. Yes. What I also noticed in this scene was Pelly's eyebrows. She doesn't have any, and so that was one thing I noticed about the character in the first season. I'm like, she looks interesting, and I don't know what makes her interesting. I don't know if it was her hair or the way she.
Besides her Ripley curls, like from Aliens.
Right, and I was looking at her. I was like, oh my gosh, she doesn't have any eyebrows.
Well, she has brows. She just doesn't have hair on her brows.
Right. That's what it is. And I'm like, that's what makes her a little quirky.
They're now on the Razor Crest. They're traveling. They're on their way to Trask to drop off Frog Lady, La Coquille. And at that moment, Mando tells her, get some rest, get some sleep. It's a long ride. I'm going to go check the cargo. So right before that, we hear a little bit of music and we see little Baby Yoda approaching the tank. You have the little lullaby music and he goes up to it.
And he puts his hands and you can see the eggs gravitate towards him.
Yeah, and you kind of hear this hum. I'm sure he was using the Force to try to call them to him.
Yeah.
I think so, but I'm sure there's more to it.
He does end up grabbing an egg. Flipped up an egg.
And Mando's scolding him like, no, don't do that. You can't eat this. Like, all right, let's go to sleep. You can't do that. So they go into, you know, their little closet to take a nap.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda's on a hammock.
Right. They're getting hailed down by two Republic X-Wing pilots.
Mm-hmm. One of them turned out to be Dave Filoni, right?
Yeah, so he played that character, I want to say it was episode 6, The Prisoner. He was one of the X-Wing pilots there, and he's back again in this episode.
He directed some of the episodes in season 1 of The Mandalorian, and he's also producer of the show, as well as director and producer of Star Wars Rebels.
And the Clone Wars.
And the Clone Wars. So that was pretty cool to see him.
Yeah.
Little cameo.
They're hailing him down, they're asking for his code, and you know, Mando is saying that he doesn't have it, and they're like, all right, cool. And he's like, okay, may the Force be with you, thinking that was just gonna get him off the hook. But it doesn't, because after a pause, they're like, yeah, we still need to run, you know, a check on your tags. So the pilots actually look into the Razor Crest. We're like, all right, we're just gonna see what we find. All of a sudden, you see the wings expand on the X-Wings. They're letting them know, like, hey, you're gonna need to follow us. Were you in the Bantha 5 correctional transport recently? And as soon as they kind of ask him that question, that's when he goes flying off, and you hear Wolf saying, oh, we got a runner. And they go chasing him, which was a very cool chase scene.
Yeah, very cool. And you know what? It was actually really funny when he does jet off, because all you see in the background is a frog lady kind of holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
He told her to strap up.
Right.
He was like, we don't got no light speed, so you better strap up, because something's gonna go down.
Yeah, that was
and
really
it did.
cool.
They get to the planet's atmosphere. They're making fun of him with his ship. He's like, where he thinks he's going? And he goes around this cloud formation, right? And when he's out of sight, turns off the engines, just drops. Deadfall. Like he's just dropping. They're still following him. He goes through a cave, does this slide crash landing, flips the Razor Crest around, and does a reverse parking. Like hits the engine so he can stop. The X-Wing pilots just kind of fly by. They lost track of him, and Mando and the Frog Lady think they're on the clear.
Right, but then all of a sudden, the ship goes down. Immediately, Mando's like, "Oh, we gotta keep you warm." To the Frog Lady, we gotta get you some blankets.
And when he goes downstairs, he doesn't see the child in the little sleeping closet where he left them. Goes through the wreckage, starts looking through. You kind of hear a sound, almost like a slurping sound, and he lifts this piece of debris.
Baby Yoda eating one of those eggs.
Yeah.
Man, there has to be something to that. You think?
And he's asking him, well, how many of these did you eat?
Right. Oh, man.
And then he burps, because he was going to town on them eggs.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, was he just innocently eating these eggs because he was hungry? Or is he incubating them in his stomach?
Because he doesn't chew them. He's straight up
he's slurping them.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. I think he was just eating them. Because he ate that frog that one time and he wasn't chewing. He just swallowed that sucker whole.
No, he did chew, didn't he?
Not the frog. He was like... It was just hanging off his mouth.
You're right.
They kind of start huddling together. They're like, we gotta stay warm. When night hits, the temperature is gonna drop drastically.
Frog Lady holding on to her eggs, and then there's a shot of Baby Yoda cuddling up to Mando.
Yeah.
And that was really cool because if we talked about this in the last episode where it sort of brings it back to that father-son relationship. I really like that. I don't think Mando minded.
No. Yeah, he likes feeling like that fatherly figure. But it's funny because as he's cuddling up to Mando, he's eyeing the eggs. Frog Lady is just holding her eggs, and she's saying something to Mando in her language which he can't understand, but you can tell she's being very protective of her eggs, and she noticed there was some missing. There's no way, Mama knew there was some eggs missing, but he pretty much told her, like, listen, we just gotta hold out here. We're not gonna survive if we go anywhere. You see the droid from that same episode, the prisoner. It kind of went into the sleeping closet and saw Baby Yoda there, and Baby Yoda, like, he looked like he was trying to use the Force. Mando actually shot the droid from behind. The Frog Lady uses the droid to communicate with Mando, and she explains the importance,
right, of her getting to her location.
Yeah, to the planet Trask to meet her husband, get the eggs fertilized.
Mando tells her, "Oh, I don't know if you can see, but look around. There's no way we're getting out of here."
Yeah.
And then she replies something along the lines, "Well, oh, I thought it was in the Mandalorian's code to uphold, to honor
Their word, to honor their word."
To honor their word.
Yeah, so she called him out on that, which kind of, I guess, frustrated him because he was like, "Man, she's right." So he goes out there to work on the Razor Crest, and a little Baby Yoda comes around the corner. Kind of calling him out, like pointing, trying to tell him something.
Mando tries to find the Frog Lady, but he can't find her.
He notices that there are footprints on the ground, on the snow.
Well, Baby Yoda was trying to tell him that. That's right. Right. And so they follow the footprints, and they find the Frog Lady in what seems to be like a hot spring, right?
Yeah, it was like this little pool, a hot pool.
Yeah, and she was there naked with her eggs, just chilling. Trying to keep warm, which makes sense. But I'm like, you were just in a wreckage and you here hanging out como si estaba
all off on her own, like where she thought she was going,
in a
right?
hot tub or something.
Yeah, she went off with her little eggs, and Mando is kind of scolding her, like, "Hey, I can't protect you here."
Right, and they start gathering the eggs.
Yeah, he's gathering the eggs.
Baby Yoda tries to eat one, and all you see is Mando's finger. No. That was cute.
So he goes off on his little adventure.
He wanders off, and the music comes on.
The little baby music starts.
Little mischievous, curious, playful music, and he encounters these sort of eggs, right?
Yeah.
But,
they look like cocoons. But we don't really know that until he goes up to it,
and he opens it, like cracks it open, and he takes out a spider.
Yeah. He takes a whiff first. Right. He like opens, he's like
and then inhales it, starts chomping on it.
You see that? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That he started chewing on, because you see the legs and he was like
right. And then he goes back into the cocoon and starts taking whatever
the
else
slime.
out.
He's eating the slime.
So he was in it, man. And then all of a sudden you see the camera pan out, and all the other cocoons they start hatching.
Yeah.
And so
all
like
these hundreds
spiders,
of them.
Yeah, all these.
It was like that scene out of Aliens.
Oh.
So it's sort of like a nod to Aliens.
Yeah, there were some small ones, but then there were also some medium-sized ones, and then all of a sudden you see this like Shelob-looking spider just pop out, and her mouth, her claws, whatever they were, she was ready. She was ready to attack, and then you see Baby Yoda kind of just, running and waddling back to Mando.
Right.
And he kind of reaches for Mando.
They were based on an old Ralph McQuarrie concept art that he did for Empire Strikes Back. The concept was never used, but Dave Filoni, being the Star Wars fan that he is, included them in Rebels.
He did. That's right. We did see them in Rebels. That was really cool.
Yeah. So he tends to do that. He's been really connecting, some of the Rebels lore that he implemented in that cartoon into the Mandalorian. It was really interesting seeing this sort of like horror moment. And they're just like running, and Mando's using his flamethrower, trying to hold them back. They're running, but they still keep coming. He threw a couple of thermal detonators, 2 on the wall, 1 to the floor where the Krykna was chasing them down, the giant spider, and it falls down, and you see all burnt up because all 3 explosions went off. So you think, okay, he stopped it, great. But all the little ones are still going, so he's shooting them. And it just got to the point where they just couldn't run fast enough,
right?
Or at least the frog lady couldn't run fast enough. The frog
lady started leaping.
She lifted the skirt and just went like just hopping on all 4.
That caught me off guard. I was like, whoa. No, that was funny.
If I could leap, that's what I would have done too.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then they eventually make it back to the
Razor Crest. Yeah.
And they try to lock up the doors, right? He's using his flamethrower.
Yeah.
And there was this one scene though that one of the little spiders gets on Baby Yoda's head.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of that scene in Toy Story.
The
The
claw.
claw scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It was like the little aliens in the claw machine, and the claws coming down.
Yeah, the little green aliens and
Yeah.
the claw lifting it up.
Then
Then it got shot, right? The little thing got,
by the frog lady. The frog lady
yeah,
shot
she
it.
had a little pistol.
Yeah.
She's ready to defend her babies.
Yeah. And then Mando comes out trying to shoot all these spiders, but he can't really hold them off. And then you see all of a sudden lasers.
The giant spider's like eyeing them, like it sees them, like, and then he eyes Baby Yoda because like you just ate my little baby spider.
Right.
So it's coming after the child, it's coming after them, and all of a sudden you see laser shots.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, you see them shooting off the spiders.
All you hear is gunshots going off, like laser
Right.
blasts. And Mando is making his way outside, and he's taking out, the little spiders. And when he finally gets outside, there's these spotlights. He can't truly see who it is, but he knows he's being protected, and it turns out to be the two X-Wing pilots.
Yeah. So once they're done shooting off the spiders, one of the X-Wing pilots turns to Mando and says, "Oh, so we ran your credentials, your tags,
Yeah.
your tags." And they ended up seeing that he has a warrant.
Yeah, there was a
There
warrant
was a warrant out for his arrest.
for releasing that prisoner.
That's right. And but then they also noticed that he did some good.
Yeah, because he caught 3 other bad guys, right? That there was a bounty for. At this point, the Empire is still out there. They're not in power, but the New Republic is still struggling. There's still remnants of the Empire out there. The way they saw this was, you're not a bad person. You're not like an evil person that we need to kind of arrest or take out. So they kind of let him be. And Mando tells them, so how about instead of collecting the bounty on these 3 convicts, you help me repair my ship.
And they agree.
No, they don't repair his ship. They're like, nah, how about you get your, identification communicator thing working, and next time we run into you, we won't shoot you down.
Right. That's what they said.
So then they just go off. They fly off and just leave him there to repair the ship on his own. He tells the frog lady, I'm like, listen, we're all gonna have to be in the front in the cockpit area. The only place I can pressurize. So he does that. He gets that repaired. They're off in space, flying off, and the Razor Crest is just like limping along. Like you see panels just flapping.
Yeah.
They're on their way to Trask. There's this one little moment again right before the episode ends.
Baby Yoda's looking at the eggs again, intently too. Like, man, yeah.
And the camera pans over to Baby Yoda,
and he has an egg, and he slurps it down.
Slurps down one last egg.
Man.
I mean, you would have thought that he would have learned his lesson, right? Like he ate that spider, giant spider, and little mini spiders and medium-sized spiders come after him, trying to kill him, and he would probably realize, like, maybe I shouldn't be going around eating stuff or people's babies.
But that's that childlike nature, you kind of just you do what you do.
He's a little mischievous.
Yeah.
So
can you imagine if he's incubating those eggs?
Maybe.
Just
we'll see.
We'll see.
So, what was your impression overall?
Overall, it was cool. It moved the story along. What did you think of the episode?
I thought it was a great episode. It felt like it was part 1 of a 2-part storyline.
Because we still have to see, does the frog lady end up where she needed to go?
Right.
What's her story?
Does she run into her husband?
Right.
What is gonna go on after that? You kind of felt like this should have been a longer story, and this was just like the first half of it.
Yeah, it felt incomplete. Like right when it ended, I was like, oh, this is it. So it felt a little incomplete for me, and so
I hate to use the word filler,
Yeah, me too.
Especially when you start so early in the season to say, oh, this was a filler episode.
But it almost felt that way.
I think maybe in the next episode or the upcoming episodes, we kind of see the main plot just kind of kick in.
Really moving along.
Yeah, episode 1 was an introduction episode. episode 2 was a setup episode. I feel like this was very much a setup episode.
Okay, yeah.
So episode 3, I have a feeling
It's gonna be really good.
Really good, and it is going to move the story along. Like, we're gonna get a probably a good reveal. You know, Mando is out looking for the Mandalorians, right? He still hasn't found any. We're up to episode 3 this coming week. When are we gonna see him meeting anyone or running into anyone?
Maybe episode 3.
Hopefully episode 3, because we only have 8 episodes. You know, so after episode 3, that's it. We're down to 5.
Last episode, we spoke about how you know, the father-son relationship between Mando and Baby Yoda. And what I like the contrast in this episode was with the frog lady and her eggs. It shows that that sort of parenting, you know, moment and that parenting relationship and how much a parent figure cares and will
how protective
and will be willing to do anything for their child. So I thought that was a really interesting contrast. I wanted it to move along, and when it ended, I was like, oh man, this is it. I felt kind of like, oh. But I'm looking forward to episode 3 for sure.
Anything you're hoping to see?
Mando has been meeting just characters along the way, and I feel like we're gonna meet somebody very important. I have a feeling
he's supposed to get that information about other Mandalorians when he gets to Trask.
And when does he? I think this episode will be it.
Right.
You know, because like you said, this episode felt very much like a setup, and so it's setting us up for, you know, that moment, like, oh my God, another Mandalorian. Maybe, you know, I don't think that we're gonna get to see the Boba Fett character just yet, because last episode it ended with that shot of who it seemed to be Boba Fett without the armor. I think it's gonna be a brand new character, and again, a Mandalorian, and that's going to be cool because it's like, okay, what's the relationship going to be between Mandalorian and Mandalorian? What's that going to look like? And then how is that Mandalorian part of the journey now? You know,
it was fun, entertaining episode. Definitely looking forward to what's next. Want to see the overall story move along.
Yeah.
Any final words? Anything else you want to add?
Just looking forward to the episode 3. I really think we're gonna meet somebody interesting.
Yeah, the Mandalorian and the mischievous adventures of the child. What did you think about the episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Thank you again for joining us. We'll continue talking about the Mandalorian, giving our impressions and doing a recap each week. If you like this episode, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notifications bell. Until next time.